The autumn wind swept through the streets of South Los Angeles, carrying with it the smell of street vendor hot dogs and the distant hum of traffic on Crenshaw Boulevard. It was 1992, and the city still bore the scars of recent unrest, boarded-up windows, faded graffiti, and a tension that hung in the air like morning fog. 12-year-old Marcus Webb sat on the cracked concrete steps outside Mr. Chen's corner store, his worn sneakers tapping a rhythm against the pavement. His backpack, patched with duct tape, sat beside him. Inside was a math test with a bright red C+, that he'd been too afraid to show his grandmother. She worked 2 jobs, one at the hospital, another cleaning offices downtown, and he didn't want to add to her worries. The neighborhood around him buzzed with life. Mrs. Rodriguez swept the sidewalk in front of her hair salon, the smell of perm solution mixing with the aroma of pupusas from the Salvadoran restaurant next door. A group of teenagers passed by, their boombox playing the latest Tupac track, the bass rattling car windows. This was Marcus's world, a patchwork of cultures and struggles, dreams and disappointments, all coexisting on these sun-baked streets. He'd lived here his entire life, in the small 2-bedroom apartment above the laundromat where the rhythm of washing machines was his lullaby. His grandmother, Dorothy Webb, had raised him since he was 3, after his mother disappeared into the grip of addiction and his father became just another statistic in the war on drugs. She never talked about those days, but Marcus had found the newspaper clippings hidden in a shoebox under her bed, stories of raids, arrests, lives destroyed. "You gonna buy something or just take up space?" Mr. Chen called from inside, his voice gruff but not unkind. The Korean store owner had been there for 15 years, surviving the riots, the gang wars, the economic downturns. He knew every kid in the neighborhood by name. "Just resting, Mr. Chen," Marcus replied, squinting against the afternoon sun. "Thinking. Thinking don't pay bills," Mr. Chen said, but there was a smile in his voice. "You hungry? I got yesterday's sandwiches. Half price." Marcus's stomach growled, but he shook his head. $5 had to last until Friday, and it was only Tuesday. "I'm good, thanks." The truth was, he wasn't good. The C+ haunted him. Math had always been hard, the numbers swimming on the page when he tried to focus. But it was more than that. How could he concentrate on algebraic equations when he worried about whether his grandmother had taken her blood pressure medication, or if the landlord would raise the rent again, or if the shooting last week on Vernon Avenue would spread to their block? That's when he noticed the man. He was tall, painfully thin, wearing a faded denim jacket that had seen better days and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. His jeans were worn at the knees, and his shoes, once white, were scuffed and dirty. He moved with an odd grace, though, like someone used to being watched but trying not to be noticed. The man approached slowly, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. When he got closer, Marcus could see his face was partially hidden by the cap and a pair of oversized sunglasses that seemed out of place with the rest of his outfit. "Excuse me, young man," the stranger said, his voice soft and oddly familiar. "I hate to ask, but I'm in a bit of a situation. Could you spare $1? I just need to get something to eat." Marcus looked up, studying the man's face. There was something about him, the way he held himself, the careful way he spoke. But the clothes were convincing, and Marcus had seen enough genuine hardship on these streets to know that poverty could touch anyone. The boy reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled $5 bill, half of his lunch money for the week. His grandmother had given it to him that morning with strict instructions to make it last. "I don't have $1, sir," Marcus said, standing up. "But I have this. Take it. You need it more than I do." The man froze. For a long moment, he just stood there, staring at the bill in Marcus's outstretched hand. Then slowly, he reached up and removed his sunglasses. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. Those eyes. He'd seen them 1,000 times, on posters, on television, in music videos that played on the small TV in his grandmother's living room. The high cheekbones, the gentle curve of his face, even behind the dirt smudges and the exhaustion that seemed painted on like makeup. "You're," Marcus started, but the man raised a finger to his lips. "Michael," he said simply, kneeling down so they were eye level. "And I can't take your money, Marcus." "How do you know my—" Michael gestured to the backpack. "Your name's written on it. Marcus Webb. Is that you?" The boy nodded, unable to form words. "I was doing something," Michael explained, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Walking around, seeing how people treat each other when they think no one important is watching. Testing something about humanity, I guess. And you. He smiled, and it was the same smile from the man in the mirror video, the one that had made Marcus believe, even for a moment, that the world could be better. You just gave me half your lunch money, Michael continued. Without hesitation. Without judgment. How much do you have for the week? $10, Marcus admitted. But you looked hungry, and my grandma always says. What does she say? She says we might not have much, but we always have enough to share. Michael's eyes glistened. He reached into his jacket, not the denim one, but under it, Marcus realized now, seeing the hint of something more expensive beneath the disguise. I want to tell you something, Marcus, Michael said. Something I don't think you know about yourself yet. He pulled out a business card and a pen, scribbling something on the back. You have a gift. Not everyone would do what you just did. Most people walk past suffering every single day. They make excuses, they look away, they tell themselves it's not their problem. But you. He handed Marcus the card. You saw someone who needed help, and you gave what you had, even though you need it too. That's not just kindness. That's courage. On the front of the card was an embossed logo, Neverland Ranch. On the back, a phone number and a single word, scholarship. What is this? Marcus asked, his hands trembling as he held the card. I run programs, Michael explained. For kids who have big hearts and big dreams, but maybe not big bank accounts. Kids who get C+s in math even though they're brilliant, because they're worried about their grandmothers working 2 jobs and can't concentrate. Marcus's eyes widened. How did you? I saw the test sticking out of your bag. And I know that look. I had it myself once, a long time ago in Gary, Indiana. Worried about money, worried about family, worried about everything except what kids should worry about, which is being kids. The sound of a car engine interrupted them. A black Mercedes pulled up to the curb, windows tinted dark. The driver, a large man in a suit, stepped out and opened the back door. I have to go, Michael said, standing. But you call that number, okay? Ask for Jane. She handles the scholarship program. She'll talk to your grandmother. Full ride to any private school in LA County, plus tutoring, plus a stipend for your family. No strings attached. I don't understand, Marcus said, tears now flowing freely down his cheeks. Why me? Michael paused at the car door, looking back. The afternoon sun caught his face, and for a moment, he looked less like a superstar and more like just another person, vulnerable, hopeful, searching. Because you reminded me why I do this, he said. You reminded me that there are still good people in the world. People who give even when they have nothing. And those are the people worth investing in. Those are the people who'll change everything. He started to get into the car, then stopped. Oh, and Marcus, keep the $5. Consider it a loan from a friend. When you're successful, and you will be, pay it forward to someone else who needs it. That's how we change the world. $1, one act of kindness at a time. The car door closed, and the Mercedes pulled away, leaving Marcus standing on the sidewalk with a business card in one hand and a $5 bill in the other. Mr. Chen emerged from his store, wiping his hands on his apron. Was that? Yeah, Marcus whispered, watching the car disappear into traffic. Yeah, it was. What did he want? Marcus looked down at the card, at the phone number that would change everything, at the word scholarship written in now famous handwriting. He wanted to know if people still care about each other, Marcus said finally. He wanted to know if kindness still exists. And Marcus smiled, thinking of his grandmother's words, thinking of the worn $5 bill that had almost left his pocket, thinking of how a single moment of compassion could ripple out in ways he couldn't yet understand. I think he found his answer. 15 years later, Dr. Marcus Webb stood at the podium of the Los Angeles Convention Center, looking out at 3,000 faces, educators, philanthropists, community leaders. Behind him, a banner read, The Webb Foundation, Transforming Education in Underserved Communities. In his pocket, laminated and worn from years of touching, was a business card from Neverland Ranch. On the back, in faded ink, scholarship. I was 12 years old, Marcus began, his voice steady and strong, when someone asked me for $1. I gave him 5. It was half my lunch money for the week, but he looked hungry, and my grandmother taught me that we always have enough to share. The audience leaned forward. That man, Marcus continued, turned out to be Michael Jackson. And that $5, that moment of just seeing another human being and choosing to help, it changed my entire life. He gave me a scholarship. Not because I was the smartest kid or the most talented, but because I was willing to give what little I had to someone I thought had less. He pulled out the laminated card, holding it up so the cameras could see. He told me to pay it forward. So that's what I've spent my life doing. The Webb Foundation has provided scholarships to over 5,000 students. We've built 12 community centers. We've fed tens of thousands of families. And every single dollar we give, every single life we touch, starts with this card and the lesson it taught me. His voice cracked slightly with emotion. Michael tested humanity that day, and I had no idea I was being tested. But here's what I learned. We're all being tested, every single day. Every time we see someone struggling, every time we have a choice between looking away and reaching out, every time we can share what we have or hoard it, that's the test. The audience rose to their feet, applause thundering through the convention center. And the answer, Marcus said, tears streaming down his face, the answer is always kindness. Always compassion. Always love. Because you never know, that person asking for $1 might be testing you. But more importantly, they might genuinely need help. And in the end, does the reason really matter? He looked up at the ceiling, as if seeing through it to something, or someone beyond. Thank you, Michael, he whispered. I'm paying it forward. Just like you asked. In the audience, an elderly woman with silver hair and calloused hands, Marcus's grandmother, wiped her eyes with a tissue. Next to her, an empty seat held a single white glove, placed there in honor of the man who'd seen potential in a 12-year-old boy with a worn backpack and a generous heart. The man who'd pretended to be poor to find the richest thing of all, proof that humanity was worth believing in. The man who'd asked for $1 and received something priceless, hope.